Hi, my name is Ryan Sadaghiani. I'm a high school junior from Westlake Village, California. I've loved acting since I was really young, and since the age of 11, I've been a part of some really big productions.
Two. That's odd. We didn't pop the balloon, but there still seems to be a hot gas in the air near Ray's pants.
Great demonstration. I'll go sit down now.
Curious. Any hypotheses on the strange gas around Ray?
Ray farted.
Yes.
And I want my pizza fast.
I attend Oaks Christian School, a school that allows me to explore filmmaking, both in front of the camera and behind. But directing silly short films was nothing compared to the task brought to me in my advanced film class: create a documentary about a social injustice in my community. My parents raised me to always be caring and thoughtful towards others. I like to find ways to help others at school. I get a lot of joy out of lending a helping hand for people, especially when they're not expecting it or asking for it. But beyond my school, this was going to be tough. I live in a beautiful area in Southern California. At a simple glance, all I see around me are people living the American dream. My friends and I drive nice cars, I live in a nice home. It's really easy to be blind to the issues going on outside my circle of friends. What injustices could possibly be happening here? Cue the 2018 midterm elections. I couldn't turn on my television without seeing commercials for various propositions.
So, vote yes if you want the state to borrow money for affordable housing. Vote no if you want to avoid that debt and let the market figure it out. Is Prop 1 the answer? I'm Cal Matters higher education reporter Felicia Mello, and here's what you need to know about Prop 1 in less than a minute.
Prop 1 is all about affordable housing. Everyone needs a place to call home, right?
Yeah, she is right. Everyone does need a place to call home. When we look at human beings as a whole, there's a list of necessities we need in order to live a life of comfort and sanity. Psychologist Abraham Maslow came up with the idea of a hierarchy of needs. It consists of a pyramid of things that go from the bottom up. The diagram shows how you cannot have certain things at the top without the basic foundational needs being met first. These basic foundational needs are known as physiological needs. This category includes things like water, food, breathing, and wait for it, shelter. Even Abraham Maslow agrees that people need a place to call home. Think about it. Our need to breathe is on the same level as our need to have a roof over our head. That's heavy. Without a place to shelter yourself, we can't function properly. This baseline level sums up the requirements for human survival, and having a home is one of them. Forget any of these higher human needs like health, friendship, confidence, and self-actualization. Without those physiological needs being met, it's not going to happen. And that's exactly where we're at here in California. People cannot afford to have a home. I know what this documentary needs to be, and Prop 1 lady couldn't have said it better. Everyone needs a place to call home. Think about the car you're currently driving. Have you ever noticed that you see other people driving that same car all the time? It's not just a coincidence. It's called the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon. It says that after you become aware of something for the first time, you start to recognize it more often. This is exactly what happened to me when I started this documentary journey. Here in the state of California, housing is on a lot of people's minds, and now it's on mine. And if it's not on yours yet, it should be.
For all its claims of being an economic paradise, California is a failure when it comes to affordable housing.
When we think about California, we don't think about affordable housing. How critical of an issue is this for voters?
People can't afford to live here. I mean, you have housing prices now in California, the median eclipsing $400,000, $500,000, 2.5 times what the national average is.
A ton of articles out right now, the one specifically by the LA Times, saying that people are choosing to say goodbye to California altogether, because even moving north or south, like, nothing is working.
California's out of control, Stuart. I mean, it's been that way for many years.
We can't provide housing to our citizens.
You have close to 1.7 million California households paying more than half their income on rent, which is obviously a huge burden on them.
And it's unaffordable. Young couples, young people, there's no way without their parents' help in any way could they buy anything. So as a result, there's going to be a migration.
Part of the problem is lawmakers, state and local, help create the problem by enforcing these anti-growth policies. Today, home prices are twice the national average, and 70% of people can't afford to buy a home.
I can't vote yet, but it did get me wondering, do these issues impact my community? I decided to do some digging. Heather McLeod and Jessica Lawson work for an organization called Many Mansions, which develops and provides quality, affordable housing and life-enriching services for low-income individuals and families in Ventura and Los Angeles counties. They provide special attention to those of very low income, who were formerly homeless, seniors, veterans, or the disabled. If anyone was going to help me get to the bottom of this, it was these ladies.
Many people are getting to the point where they can't afford to live, period. They can't afford to rent, they can't afford to buy, and that's when you see an increase in our homeless population.
They're working a job that's probably minimum wage, and they might be living on the street, they might be living in their car, they might be living in a home where there might be 20, 30 people living in. You hear of those cases all over the place, where the homes have, 10 to 20 people in each bedroom. They're all sleeping on the floor, they can't afford it, they're all pooling their money to be able to live there. That's another reason why it's so important.
After that, I decided to go deeper. I wanted an official perspective from the city I live in to see what they're doing to combat this issue. Hi there. I was wondering if I could get in touch with the mayor? I'm actually doing a documentary on the access to affordable housing in our area and was wondering if I could get in touch with the mayor.
It's a challenge. Property values are high in Thousand Oaks, and then generally that's a good thing. People want their property to increase in value. Land costs are very expensive, and so that makes it a challenge for a developer to come in and build an affordable project simply because land costs and development costs are very high in Thousand Oaks. It's really a community need, and I hear from residents all the time that we don't have enough housing, that we don't have enough affordable housing. I also hear from residents that they're concerned about traffic congestion, quality of life issues. So it's a balance for those in elected office to meet the housing needs and at the same time maintain the character, which is why everybody moved to Thousand Oaks to begin with. They live in Thousand Oaks because they don't want to live in Burbank. They don't want to live in Glendale. They want the quiet, they want the quality of life, they want the high quality schools that is consistent with a community like Thousand Oaks.
Mayor Fox is in a tough spot. On the one hand, new affordable housing complexes would provide new opportunities for everyday Americans to get into a home. On the flip side, residents in towns like Thousand Oaks and Westlake Village move to these communities to escape the big city vibes, the traffic, the congestion. To build more in towns like these would cause a major pushback from residents. What's a town to do? This is a more complex issue than I expected. I'm not the only one wrestling with these issues right now. California's new governor, Gavin Newsom, campaigned heavily on the need for more affordable housing. He brought forth a planned proposal to increase the number of affordable housing units in the state by 3.5 million by the year 2025. That's an aggressive goal. In his budget, he dangled rewards as motivation. $250 million to help cities with zoning and environmental reviews, and an additional $500 million once they hit certain milestones. On the flip side, there are consequences for cities that fail to meet their quota. Senate Bill 1, which was approved in 2017, raised the state's gas tax by 12 cents and raised registration and driving fees. That money, about $5.4 billion a year, is designed to improve state highways, local roads, bridges, transit, and other infrastructure. The state of California says if you don't reach your housing goals, that SB1 money, it's gone. That's a lot of potholes and rickety bridges California residents will be driving over. The state has gone so far as to already sue the city of Huntington Beach for its refusal to adhere to state's mandates. It's already facing a shortfall of more than 400 units and has been heavily opposed by residents. City Council scaled back zoning approvals, making the target nearly impossible to reach.
So I'm, again, surprised by the lawsuit. Huntington Beach has done, I think, as much, if not more, than many other cities.
Governor Gavin Newsom says this is a first-of-its-kind lawsuit accusing Huntington Beach of amending its housing plan to build fewer new units and for refusing to comply with state housing laws.
Cities that have actually gone out of their way to reduce the amount of available land or to put higher costs in terms of developing that land or restricted the zoning so it isn't really cost efficient. You know, we're looking at our Ormond Beach, our Oxnard property. It has about 25 housing units per acre. Some cities will say, look, you can build on this land, but you can only build 5 housing units per acre, 4 housing units. So effectively, it's just economically, you can't do that. They can say, well, there's land's available if you want to buy it. But when the zoning only allows you to build so low density, effectively they're saying you can't build.
The rest of Southern California, not much better. As of January 2019, only 4 of 89 jurisdictions in Los Angeles County have accomplished the housing goals laid out in their general plans. The plans so far don't appear to be working. Almost everyone agrees. Affordable housing units are needed in nearly every community, just not mine. That appears to be the sentiment. Let's donate, let's volunteer. Just don't make me live next to a poor person. Prior to construction on a new apartment complex, it needs to comply with the California Environmental Quality Act. That means it has passed rigorous inspections to evaluate the impact on the local ecosystem. If residents don't like the outcome of the Act's Environmental Impact Report, they could sue to delay the project. There's a stigma around affordable housing units, the families it brings, and the impact it causes on communities' real estate market.
That absolutely is false. They've done many, many studies throughout the country, and they've shown that that's not true at all. They've looked at the neighborhood, they've looked at values before an affordable housing building was built and after. And there's absolutely no evidence that housing values go down.
So, what can be done to solve this epidemic? I have to believe this isn't a hopeless issue. There are communities in Southern California where clear progress is being made. What model could be pursued for other towns to follow suit?
We need community support more than anything else. What we're seeing in LA is even with a lot of financial resources, the neighborhoods come out in opposition. And so we really need our neighbors and our friends to support creating housing opportunities for people on low income.
It was a problem 30 years ago, and now it's even more of a problem today.
We currently have 3,000 families, individuals on our wait list, and that wait could be anywhere from 5 to 8 years just because of how much it's needed and how it's growing. Affordable housing needs to be in our areas. It needs to be in our community. It helps so many people.
It's hard not to feel overwhelmed by this massive issue plaguing the state of California. The easy thing to do would be to simply turn off the television, close the blinds, and go about your life. Out of sight, out of mind. It's so much more difficult to truly live out the Bible's commandment to love your neighbor as yourself. Scripture says it 8 times, in fact. It's hard to ignore, so I won't, and neither should you. So what should we do? Too often we just throw money at an issue and hope it goes away. Whether it be initiatives from the state or federal government that increases your taxes, or you make a personal charitable donation, until now, opening our wallets seemed to be the only viable option. And don't get me wrong, organizations like Many Mansions and others do depend on your donations to continue their mission. But if we're going to create a real change, we have to allow ourselves to look at these issues in a different light. After all, we all know the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Here's a radical idea. What if someone paid you to help combat the affordable housing crisis? That's what the company United Dwelling is proposing, along with architecture firm Modative. Their plan works like this. There are currently over 250,000 detached two-car garages in Los Angeles County alone. These companies have proposed leasing these units from homeowners, a 15-year commitment, converting them into accessory dwelling units, managing those units, and renting them out at below market rates. A portion of that rent, anywhere between $400 and $800 a month, is given to those homeowners. Their current push is aimed at communities where median income is $58,000 a year. That additional income could make a big difference for a lot of families.
Homeowners benefit, and it's predictable income in the long term. From the tenant's perspective, because of how we do the construction, we can build relatively inexpensively, and we pass that through. So the rent we charge is about 25 to 30% below what would be the rent for a studio apartment in the same community, same neighborhood, but it's also a far better value.
Sounds crazy, but the idea is catching momentum. In October 2018, United Dwelling was selected from among 53 proposals in the Los Angeles County Housing Innovation Challenge and awarded $1 million to pursue the idea. Again, the hurdle is in changing the way we look at those who need affordable housing.
When homeowners hear about this and first start thinking about it, they immediately go to a really dark place when they imagine who the tenant is. They think axe murderer. The strategy we've taken in marketing has shifted, and we are now partnering with local area schools, hospitals who have their own challenges in hiring. They compete based on salary and brand for talent, but the largest challenge they have bringing somebody on is housing affordability. What we're discussing is going out to the community and saying, hey, United Dwelling would like to convert your garage, and the tenant will be a nurse as your tenant. And if we can lead with the positioning of who the likely tenant would be, I think we overcome that initial fear about who the tenant could be.
There needs to be pressure put on local governments to fund affordable housing for teachers, nurses, firefighters, seniors, low-income families, and the homeless. But the model put forth by United Dwelling isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. That obviously won't work in all neighborhoods in California. Flyaway Homes, another winner of the Housing Innovation Challenge, has a mission to build homes faster and for less than the nonprofit model. This for-profit company can avoid the cumbersome approval process that normally accompanies the traditional low-income housing approach. By creating larger units with private bedrooms and more communal living areas, Flyaway can provide housing for up to 4 times the number of people at the same existing cost. Or how about this out-of-the-box solution? Volunteer. Actually go and volunteer your time with an organization like Many Mansions. Meet the people who live in an affordable housing community. Hear their story. Build relationships. You'd be amazed how perceptions change once you have some skin in the game.
We are very happy to see how many people in this community do support Many Mansions, and I get tons of emails about, well, what about this, or can I do this, and it's so heartwarming to see what comes out of the people in the community. And I myself didn't know that until working at Many Mansions, that how many people care and how many good people you can find in your backyard, and it's very touching.
They need your help, and that's a good way to learn more about what's happening in the community and the needs of the community. You know, when we talk about misconceptions, or when we talk about people not knowing much about affordable housing, I think more people that volunteer, that's how they learn. You know, volunteer in some of our after-school tutoring programs. You get to know the kids and the residents that actually live in our housing, and you don't have those misconceptions. You can see the quality of it. You can go back, tell your friends, you can tell your parents. That will help build, I think, support and maybe some momentum, where you could actually and tell your city council member you want them to vote for more affordable housing. That's a long-term kind of solution. I would urge people to get involved and help nonprofits.
8 months. I've never spent 8 months doing anything, and I spent 8 months on this film, researching, calling, interviewing, trying to understand this issue that so many politicians and lawmakers have struggled with for years. How is someone supposed to make an educated decision when initiatives are brought forth and decided on based on a 30-second TV spot during the midterms? You can't. My hope is that this film provides just that, hope. Not through a liberal or conservative agenda, but by leaning on the creative minds, innovative companies, and visionary nonprofit organizations to turn the tide on this issue. But it also takes you and me, caring about the well-being of our fellow man. So take a stand, get in the game, and say it like our future depends on it. Everyone deserves a place to call home.